and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess, and this is Comcast Newsmakers, coming to you from the state capitol in downtown Lansing. Meth labs and the production of methamphetamine. It may be more prevalent than you think. Our topic today is meth labs. Joining us now to talk about it is Senator John Prose, a Republican from the 21st District, which represents Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren counties. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Now, we're specifically talking about, you've recently introduced a package of bills to help sort of curb, if you will, further take some of the restrictions that have already been put on the purchase of some of the drugs that are used to make methamphetamine, because especially in your area, in that sort of southern west corner of the state, meth use still fairly prevalent.
It really is, and it's a terrible, terrible drug that has destroyed families, destroyed people, and has created a real problem for all of the attendant crime that then comes along with that as folks really find themselves strung out on methamphetamine. The precursor drug, or one of the drugs that is used, of course, is pseudoephedrine or ephedrine. And pseudoephedrine is commonly used in cold medications that you and I may have taken very recently with colds that you may have had. It's a very commonly used drug, and a few years ago we put it behind the counter, and it required pharmacists then to actually have you sign for it, even though it is an over-the-counter non-prescription drug. And so the debate right now is how do we make sure that we decrease the amount of use or abuse of a legal over-the-counter product that's used to create, in sometimes one-pot methods, a 2-liter bottle, and sometimes in full-blown labs all throughout Michigan, in particular in our more rural areas. Very dangerous combination of chemicals, huge damage to the individuals and the families that are affected by meth use. So if we try to give law enforcement the tools and the technology to see just exactly where it is being abused, who's purchasing more than they should be purchasing, and then at the point of sale, actually allow that to be stopped at the point of sale. Right now, you sign a log.
You can walk across the street, correct? You
Yes.
purchase something at one store, you're allowed so much a day, but you can simply
That's
leave
right.
that store after logging in, walk across the street, and purchase some more at a different place and sort of make the rounds and get around the law, if you will.
That's right. That's actually called smurfing. There's a name for that, amazingly, I know.
It's a cute word.
Well, and so it would then take a law enforcement detective to actually cross-reference those logs to see that you had, in fact, been around to different places in a 24-hour period of time. This would, at the point of sale, stop at a certain level of milligrams purchased.
You're talking about sort of integrating an electronic online
Absolutely.
Computer system?
Yes, the online system would then be accessible only to law enforcement. Law enforcement would then have the ability and the tool to see by an immediate ping, if you will, that says, hey, there's an additional purchase has been tried at this Walgreens or this CVS or this Walmart drugstore. You ought to consider that as a potential threat or a problem. That then gets us to the point of actually stopping at least that drug from potentially becoming an illicit drug in the future when you put all those chemicals together in a very dangerous way.
This is high tech. This sounds really expensive. How are you thinking of paying for this in these tough
the drug manufacturers themselves are very interested in decreasing the incidence of illegal use of it. So they're looking to pay for this entire system, and we made sure in the bill, or the package of bills, that the industry itself continues to pay for the access to the system itself also. The online system would be immediately used. It's used in many other states, including Indiana, who just implemented the system just a month ago or so. When they've done so, it pushes folks into my border communities up in Berrien and Cass County, the same along the border with Ohio and other states that would implement an online system like this. Anything that we can do to try to decrease the amount of abuse, I think is going to help us in the decrease in crime, and then hopefully get to the point of law enforcement and doing the things that they should be doing as opposed to running down meth labs and putting themselves in danger for cleanup.
And status of the bill right now is what?
It continues to work its way through the legislative process. It's a marriage of bills between the House and the Senate, and Representative Price and I are working on tie-barred bills, which means that each of them is important to each other to make it happen. We've got to stop the incidents as soon as possible.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was State Senator John Prose, a Republican from the 21st District.